ಭೀತಿ ತೊರೆಯುವ ನಾವು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ
ಖಾಲಿ ಜಾಗ ಭರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊಂದಿಸಿ ಬರೆದು ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿ
ಚಿತ್ರ ಬರೆದು ಭಾಗವ ಹೆಸರಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೂ ಉತ್ತರಿಸಿ
ಪಾಸು ಫೇಲು ಗೆಲುವು ಸೋಲು ಜೀವನ ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮಿಗಿಲು
ಅಂಕಗಳೆಂದರೆ ಮೇಲಿನ ತೊಗಟೆ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಅದರ ಒಳಗಿನ ತಿರುಳು ಭೀತಿ ತೊರೆಯುವ ನಾವು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಬರೆಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿಯ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ ಕಲಿಯುವ
ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾವಾಣಿ.
Dear students, I welcome to the content-based revision classes of 10th standard mathematics. I am Venkatesh Vaidya, working as assistant teacher in KPS Bangalore, Bangalore North. I am teaching mathematics since 22 years. Today, I am going to discuss certain concepts on applications of trigonometry and its implications. Before going into the applications of trigonometry, let us define what is trigonometry. Trigonometry is a branch of mathematics that deals with lines and angles of triangles. So, why we have to study this trigonometry? What is its use? Generally, this question arises in many minds. So, first of all, what you have done with the trigonometry in your classes? So, you have found height of a mountain, height of the building, height of a tree, and is it not? Have you found it? Yes, you have found all these, and even you have found the slopes of buildings. While fixing tiles, it is easier, and vertical and parallel walls could be constructed according to certain measurement, and this is one more application of trigonometry. Then I think you might have found out length and width of buildings while solving problems, and we can find the angle of inclination of a falling sunlight, and not only these, we can calculate the speed, distance and direction in flight engineering. In the study of speed of air, speed and direction of the waves and movement of missiles, this trigonometry is of more use. In the study of fossils, we have to divide a specified land into defined fragments, and this trigonometry has of much use. And we can define the speed of bullets, and we can understand the speed of vehicles. The angles in which a particular object is moving, it can be understood by using the knowledge of trigonometry. In photosynthesis of plants, generally sunlight falls on the plant. In which angle the light ray has fallen, it could be found, and distance between any two celestial bodies can be estimated by using trigonometry. You might have solved such problems. And in the study of marine life, the depth of the sea, the size of objects can be easily done, and we can decide the height, shape and distance of submarines based on the trigonometric knowledge. And even in cartography, that is while making maps, we can use trigonometry. And you are playing video games in your mobiles, and such games can be developed, and not only these, many more such applications can be found out. Now, before actually going into the applications, let us recall what are the prerequisites that we have to use while solving problems on trigonometry. So, some of the prerequisites are, so let us understand, let us recall trigonometric ratios. So, while going into the depth of trigonometric ratios, we all know there should be a right angle triangle, and let us name this right angle triangle as ABC. This is ABC, right angle triangle, and let us consider a reference angle as angle C, this angle C, and the side opposite to C is this B, that AB. So, side opposite to angle C is AB. Now, similarly, the hypotenuse is AC here. So, it is what is hypotenuse? Yes, you are telling right. It is the opposite side of a right angle triangle to 90 degree. Now, the side adjacent to angle C is shown here. Now, let us define what is sin C. With respect to C, we are defining trigonometric ratios. Sin C is nothing but opposite by hypotenuse. So, you can see it. So, this is C. To that AB is the opposite and AC is the hypotenuse. So, sin C is in this diagram AB by AC. So, sin C has its inverse function, it is 1 by cosecant C. So, cosecant and sin, they are inverse functions together, one and another. So, sin C, retake, sin C and cosecant C, they are somehow inverse to each other. Therefore, how can we define cosecant C? Cosecant C is hyp by op, as sin C is op by hyp. In this diagram, cosecant C is AC by AB. Now, let us continue with cosine C. So, cosine C is nothing but arc by hyp. So, which is arc? Adjacent is BC, hyp is AC, already we have found it. So, arc is BC and hyp is AC. Therefore, and we can tell cosine C is BC by AC in this diagram, and secant C and cosine C, they are inverse functions to each other. Therefore, we can define secant C as, how do you define? Secant C is nothing but hyp by arch. So, it is in this diagram AC by BC. Let us continue. So, let us take tangent C. So, tangent C is nothing but op by arch. It is shown here. So, it is op by arch, and op by arch is here AB by BC. So, AB is the opposite side of angle C and BC is the adjacent side of angle C. So, we can take tan C as even sin C by cos C. So, tan and cot, they are inverse to each other. Therefore, tan C is 1 by cot C. So, cot C, we can define it as cos C by sin C. Then, how do you define with respect to sides? Yes, you are right. We can define it as arc by op. So, in this triangle, so cot C is BC in the numerator and AB in the denominator. Now, let us continue. So, we can recall this. Dear students, while recalling, just write whatever you are recalled. Let us continue now. So, let us recall certain trigonometric ratios of specific angles. So, with respect to angle C, we have already found it. So, sine of 0 degree is 0, sine of 30 is 1 by 2, sine of 45 is 1 by root 2, sine 60 is root 3 by 2, sine 90 is 1. Similarly, cos of 0 here is 1, cos of 30 is root 3 by 2, cos 45 is 1 by root 2, cos 60 is 1 by 2 and cos 90 is 0. We know sin and cos, when we take them as numerator and denominator, we get tan. So, tan C is nothing but in this 0 by 1 is 0, tan 30 here, tan 30 is 1 by 2 by root 3 by 2, it is 1 by root 3. Tan 45 here is 1 by root 2 by 1 by root 2, it is 1. Tan 60 is root 3 by 2 by 1 by 2, it is root 3. Tan 90 is 1 by 0, it is undefined. Then what is cosecant C? So, you know that cosecant and sine are inverse to each other. Therefore, let us take inverse of sine. So, what is inverse of cosecant 0? So, sine 0 is 0. So, inverse of 0 is 1 by 0 is in this, so sine cosecant 0 is not defined because 1 by 0 is not defined. Now cosecant 30 degree, it is shown cosecant 30 is 1 by 2, 1 by 1 by 2, it is 2. So cosecant 45 is 1 by root 2 and its inverse is root 2. Cosecant 60 is inverse of root 3 by 2 is 2 by root 3. So cosecant 90 is 1 by 1 is 1. So let us take secant C now. Secant 0 degree, it is shown here. Secant 0 degree is 1. So secant 30 is 2 by root 3. I am taking the inverse of values of cosine. Secant 45 is root 2. Secant 60 is 2. Secant 90 is not defined because 0 by 1. 1 by 0, it is 1 by 0. Now let us take cot C. So what is cot C? So cot C is nothing but 1 by tan C. Cot C is nothing but cos by sine. Therefore, either we can take the values of cos in the numerator by the values of sin C, and even we can somehow take the inverse of tan also. So sin 0 by cos 0 is nothing but 0 by 1. 0 by 1 is not defined. So sin 30 is 1 by 2. Cos, so here I want to retake. Cot 0 is nothing but cos C by sin C. Therefore, 1 by 0 is not defined. Similarly, root 3 by 2 by 1 by 2 is root 3. 1 by root 2 by 1 by root 2 is 1. And for cot 60, it is 1 by 2 by root 3 by 2. It is 1 by root 3. And cos 0, cos 90 is 0, sin 90 is 1. So 0 by 1 is 0. So you have already studied all these specific angles and their trigonometric ratios. Let us continue. So before going to solve certain problems on trigonometric applications, let us understand some basic concepts. So let us take a line of sight. So what is line of sight? Can you recall, can you recognize the meaning of line of sight? So let us see that in the diagram. So let there be a line, and this is the horizontal line. I am calling this as horizontal line. Now a person is observing an object above the horizontal line. So how he is observing? He is observing like this. So this line that a person is observing above the horizontal line or below the horizontal line is nothing but a line of sight. Now let us define it. It is an imaginary line drawn from the eye of the observer to the point in the object viewed by the observer with respect to horizontal. So there is horizontal line. Here we have seen horizontal line, and this is line of sight. So with respect to horizontal, the observer is observing through this line. So this is the imaginary line and it is the line of sight. So now let us continue. So what is this horizontal line? And so horizontal line, as we have seen in the before clip itself, so it is the line, here it is shown here that it is a line which is somehow parallel to earth surface. So line parallel to earth's plane surface is nothing but horizontal line. We have seen, we have understood the same in the before slide itself. Now let us take one more important concept with respect to applications of trigonometry, so that it will be easier if you identify the angles. So first of all, angle of elevation. What is angle of elevation? So let us draw the diagram what we have drawn. So dear students, you too should draw in your exercises while I was discussing, while I discussed these things. So there is horizontal line there is a line of sight, and this is the object that we are going to view, and it is shown. So what is the angle of elevation then? So with respect to horizontal, we are observing an object here. So we are observing this object. The object is here. With respect to horizontal, we are observing this object. So while observing with respect to horizontal with the line of sight, we can find an angle. That angle is nothing but this angle, whatever we have shown here, that is angle of elevation. So let us define it. How do you define? So let us define it. So angle of elevation is the case when we raise our head to look at the object. So when we raise our head to look at the object, we get a certain angle with respect to horizontal. So let us define it. So it is the angle formed by the line of the sight. Is it right? Continue the definition. So it is the angle formed by the line of the sight with the horizontal. We have taken horizontal as the reference when the point being viewed is above the horizontal level. So the object is here, we are viewing this object from with respect to horizontal, and it is the line, and between these two lines we are getting an angle that is nothing but angle of elevation. We have shown it here. This is the angle of elevation. So recall it. Now let us continue. So if it is the angle of elevation, what will be the one more angle is there? What do you call for that? Yes, you are right. It is angle of depression. So let us see how it forms. So angle of depression, let us draw the diagram once again. As we have thought, angle of elevation or angle of depressions, they are measured with respect to horizontal. So here there is horizontal and there is line of sight here, and there is the object in view, and this is the theta, this is the angle. We have taken theta here. It is the angle of depression. So how can you define it? So angle of depression is taken when we lower our head to see the object. So we will define the case when we lower our head to look at the point being viewed. So the object is down with respect to horizontal. So we are seeing the object by lowering our head. So the angle is formed. That angle is nothing but the angle of depression. Now let us define it. The angle formed by the line of sight with the horizontal when the point is below the horizontal level. So if the point that we are going to view is below the horizontal level, we will put our head down so that we can see the object. Then with respect to horizontal we get an angle. That angle is nothing but angle of depression. So let us continue our discussions. So let us somehow show all this through a flow diagram. So there is a horizontal plane, there is a horizontal line, and we are on the horizontal plane. With respect to horizontal plane, we are observing the object. So if the object is below the horizontal plane, what do you call for that? Yes, you are right. It is angle of depression. So if we are observing the object above the horizontal plane, then what do you call for it? It is the angle of elevation. So let us define these, either angle of elevation or angle of depression. So it is the angle between line of sight and horizontal line. Either the object may be above the horizontal line or it is below the horizontal line. So based on where the object lie, we can define the angle of elevation or angle of depression. Students, have you understood what is angle of elevation and what is angle of depression? If you have understood these concepts, it will be more easier for us to solve different problems on trigonometric applications. So recall these things before actually going into the problems of applications of trigonometry. So let us take one such an example. Let us take it. So let us define the problem here. If the angle of elevation of top edge of a tower from a point h meters above the lake is alpha. So here the angle of elevation is there. So read it here, the angle of elevation of the top edge of a tower. So there is a tower. Let us imagine a tower, and a person is viewing it. A person is viewing the top of the tower. So what he has to do? Whether he has to raise the head or lower the head? Yes, you are right. He has to raise his head. So he is seeing the tower. Since he is seeing the tower by raising his head, it is nothing but we will get the angle of elevation. So angle of elevation is alpha here, and the angle of depression, and he is even seeing the lake's image, its reflection in the lake. He is seeing the tower's image in the lake. So he has to lower his head. So we will get, what angle do we get here? We will get angle of depression. The angle of depression, since he lowers his head, here is beta. What we have to find here? We have to find the distance of the top edge of the tower from the point of observation. So you have assumed the tower, you have assumed the lake here, and a person is above h meters above the lake, and he is observing the top edge, and angle of elevation and depressions are given. We have to find the distance to the top of the tower to the viewer. So let us draw the diagram. What will we get? So let us draw it. So here C is the point of observation, CF is the height above the lake, so it is h here, and he is observing from point C, the viewer is observing point A, the top of the tower, and he is observing the image, its image, the tower's image in the lake, it is B. Now the angle of elevation and angle of depressions are alpha, it is shown here, it is alpha, angle of elevation, and beta, it is the angle of depression. And the observer is observing this tower, this point of the tower, h meters above the lake. This is the lake, EF is the lake. Now students, draw this diagram and try to understand, try to correlate diagram with the question given, so that we can easily solve and recall your understanding with respect to angle of depression and angle of elevation. Let the top edge of a tower be at A, it has been marked here. Now if it is the observer at point C, here he is observing the top edge from C. So since he is making his head up, it means that we have got the angle of elevation. Now the angle of elevation from A from C, h meters above the lake. So he is h meters above the lake, here it is shown, and it is alpha, it is angle of elevation, he is seeing up. Now we have seen CF and D, they are equal to h, and the viewer is observing h meters above the lake. EF is the lake, we have already recognized, and image is at B. Therefore, and let us assume AC as x. Now let us consider the triangle ADC. So what is sin alpha? So alpha is the angle of elevation. What is sin alpha? Can you recall? Sin alpha is nothing but op by hyp. What is op? Yes, op in triangle ADC is AD. What is hyp? Where is angle D? So what is its measurement? S, Angle D is 90 degree and hence AC is hypotenuse. So we will write sin alpha is AD by AC. Then what is AD? Let us keep it as it is, and AC we have assumed as x. So it is AD by x. Now let us cross multiply x. So this AD is x sin alpha. Now let us take cos alpha in the same triangle. What is cos alpha? Yes, you are right. Cos alpha is nothing but arg by hyp. So what is arg here? Arg is CD by hyp is AC. So what is CD? Let us keep CD as it is. And what is AC? It is x. Again let us cross multiply. So CD is x cos alpha. Let us call this is that equation as equation 2 and above equation as equation 1. Now let us consider triangle ADC. So in triangle ADC, let us consider triangle CDB. We have already considered ADC. So consider CDB, the triangle below triangle. So let us find tan beta. So recall what is tan beta? Tan beta is nothing but op by arg. So what is op with respect to beta? Opposite side with respect to angle beta, it is BD. What is hyp in that triangle? It is, so here retake. So let us consider tan beta. Tan beta is nothing but op by arg. Op is BD here, which is arg. Arg is CD. Now it is, what is BD then? From the diagram itself we can easily find BD here, DB or BD is nothing but DE plus EB. So what is DE? DE we have taken, we have considered it as H. So in place of DE let us substitute H. So let us keep AE. What is BE or EB? EB is nothing but AE. Now tan beta is equal to H plus, we can take DE is H, again let us substitute, plus AD, because this AE is nothing but DE plus AD. So what is DE? Let us substitute it. It is nothing but H plus AD from equation 1 is x sin alpha, and CD we have already substituted, it is x cos alpha. Now let us cross multiply these things. So x cos alpha tan beta minus x sin alpha is equal to 2h. So we have taken x sin alpha to the left side of our left side. Now let us rearrange it. So let us rearrange and take x as common. What do we get? X into cos alpha tan beta minus sin alpha is nothing but twice of h. So let us send cos alpha tan beta minus sin alpha to the denominator. What do we get? X is 2h by cos alpha tan beta minus sin alpha. This is what we needed to prove. Now let us continue. So x is, now we will take one more step here. Let us divide both numerator and denominator by secant alpha. So 2h by, let us multiply it, not I am not going to divide it, let us multiply. So 2h secant alpha by cos alpha into tan beta into secant alpha minus sin alpha into secant alpha. So let us simplify it. 2h into secant alpha is 2h secant alpha, cos alpha tan beta into secant alpha. So cos alpha cancels with secant alpha because they are inverse functions. Now sin alpha by cos alpha is nothing but tan alpha. This is what we have to prove. Now let us continue. Let us take one illustrations related to the same problem. A person who is sitting on the ship of height 5 meter is observing the top of a submarine at 60 degree. So he is sitting on the ship of height 5 meter. So the height of the ship is 5 meter here, and he is observing a submarine at the 60 degree its top. So since he is observing by raising his head, we get which angle? Which angle do we get here? We get angle of elevation. So it is 60 degree here. Again he is observing the bottom of the submarine at 30 degree. What is the angle he get here? He get the angle of depression. What is the angle of depression here? The angle of depression is 30 degree. So what we have to find? Let us continue our reading. Find the distance between submarine and the ship. Also find the height of the submarine and distance between top of the submarine and the observer. So let us understand the problem here. So there is a ship, a person is sitting on it. Height of the ship assumed is here is 5 meters, and he is observing a submarine. So he is observing the submarine, he is observing the top of the submarine at the 60 degree, and we have got angle of elevation here. Again he is observing the bottom of the submarine, it is nothing but angle of depression. So we have understood what is angle of elevation and depression in this case. So if we have understood this much, we can easily draw the diagram. So the distance between ship and the submarine is CD, it is shown here. Height of the submarine is AB, it is drawn in the diagram. So you too should draw while I am discussing the same thing. Now the height of the ship be CF, we have assumed it. So it is given as 5 meters. First of all, he is observing the bottom of the submarine. So if he is observing the bottom from C, so he has got 30 degree as angle of depression. Again he is observing the top of the submarine. He has got, we will get the angle of elevation, it is 60 degree here. Now we will complete the diagram by drawing BF parallel to CD, thereby we get alternate angles. Which are alternate angles here? Yes, you are right, DCB and CBF, they are alternate angles, they are equal. Now tan 30, let us find tan 30. Tan 30 in triangle BCF. So CF is the opposite side of angle 30 degree and FB is the adjacent side. Therefore tan 30 is CF by FB. Now what is CF? CF is 5 meters. So let us substitute it. Let us keep FB as it is. So FB is nothing but 5 by tan 30. What is tan 30? We have recalled it already. Tan 30 is 1 by root 3. Therefore FB is 5 by 1 by root 3. So let us simplify it. So it is nothing but 5 root 3. So the distance FB, distance between submarine and the ship is 5 root 3 meters. Now let us take tan 60 degree. So tan 60 degree is AD by CD. So it is with respect to triangle ADC. In this triangle we are finding tan 60 degree. Again off by H. So it is AD by CD. Now it is nothing but root 3. Tan 60, what is the value of tan 60? It is root 3. So AD by CD is, we have already found, it is 5 root 3. So CD and BF are equal. Therefore we can substitute CD as BF, it is 5 root 3. Now let us continue. Now we need to find AD. What is AD then? Let us cross multiply root 3 with 5 root 3. Root 3 multiplied by root 3 is nothing but 3 itself. Therefore, 5 into 3 is 15. 5 into 3 is 15 meters. So, distance between their tops is 15 meters. Hence, now let us take tan 60. It is AD by CD. It is, we have already done, it is 15 meters. Now height of the submarine. Let us find the height of the submarine. Height of the submarine is nothing but, what is the height? It is, submarine is AB. So AB is nothing but AD plus DB. So what is AD? We have found it. AD is 15 meters. What is DB? DB is 5 meters. It is given. What is the sum of 15 plus 5? So 15, sum of 15 and 5 is 20 meters. So now let us take sin 60. We have taken sin 60. So what is sin 60? Sin 60 is AD by AC, op by hyp. So it means sin 60, what is the value of sin 60? Sin 60 is root 3 by 2 and AD here is 15 meters. AC we have assumed it as x. So x is nothing but, let us cross multiply these things. 15 into 2 is 30 by root 3 is nothing but x. That is the distance between the top of submarine and the ship. Therefore, the distance between their tops, the top of submarine and the ship is 30 by root 3 meters. Now let us take one more illustration, one more problem. A vertical tower stands on a horizontal plane and is surrounded by a vertical flagstaff of height h. So there is a vertical tower. On that there is a flagstaff and its height is h. Let us understand the problem. At a point on the plane, the angle of elevation at the bottom of flagstaff is alpha and that of to the top of the flagstaff is beta. So on the plane a person is standing. He is observing the tower along with the flagstaff. He is observing the bottom of the flagstaff. Even he is observing the top of the flagstaff. So we will get two angles and both angles are angles of elevations. Now we have to prove the height of the tower as h tan alpha by tan beta minus tan alpha. Let us understand through a diagram here. So here in the diagram we can see there is a flagstaff CD. BC is the height of the tower. Flagstaff stands on BC. So the height of the flagstaff, it is given, it is h, and the height of tower we have assumed it as BC, it is x, and the person is at A, he is at A and he is observing the bottom of the flagstaff at C, he is observing C, again he is observing the top of flagstaff at D. So while observing the bottom of flagstaff at C, we get angle of elevation as alpha. Again he is observing the top of the flagstaff, he is observing from the same point A, we get one more angle of elevation, it is angle beta. So and even let us take AB as y, the distance between flagstaff or the tower to the observer be y. Now let us solve it. Let the height of the tower be BC. Let us take it as x, we have already assumed. So the height of the flagstaff be h, it is above the tower. A is the point of the observation where the viewer is observing it. So let AB we have assumed it as y. Now let us take in triangle ABC. In this triangle ABC, tan alpha is nothing but op by arch. What is op? It is BC. What is arch? It is AB. So it is nothing but x by y. Now we have already identified it as BC by AB. Let us call this as equation 1. Now let us continue. Let us redraw the diagram. So in triangle ABD, the whole triangle, tan beta, let us take tan beta. Tan beta is DB, opposite side, by AB is the adjacent side. So it is nothing but, what is DB? DB is made up of CD and BC. So what is CD? What is the measurement we have taken? CD is H. Let us substitute CD as H and BC as X and AB as Y. Let us substitute the values. Now we have already found equation 1. Let us divide equation 1 by 2. So there is tan alpha. Here we have found tan beta. So on the left hand sides, tan alpha by tan beta is equal to, there we have got x by y. In equation 2 we have got y by x plus h. So this is equation 2. This is equation 2. I have not named it. So call this as equation 2. Now I am dividing equation 1, whatever I have got in the previous page as equation 1, it is x by y. This is equation 2. So tan alpha by tan beta is x by y into y by x plus h. So it is nothing but, so y cancels, it is nothing but x by x plus h. Now let us cross multiply those. X into tan alpha plus h into tan alpha is nothing but x tan beta. So let us do certain rearrangements. X tan beta minus x tan alpha, let us send x tan alpha to the right side and rearrange it. So x tan beta minus x tan alpha, so that x comes to one side, is equal to h tan alpha. So let us take x as common. X into tan beta minus tan alpha is h tan alpha. So height of the tower is x here, we need to find it. So it is nothing but h tan alpha by tan beta minus tan alpha. So this is what we have to prove, we have to find. Let us move further. So let us take a particular example. The tower of a radio station is constructed in two parts. The height of first part is 87 feet from the base. Tip of first and the second parts are observed respectively at 40 degree and 60 degree angle of elevations. So there are two angle of elevations. What is the height of the second part of the radio tower? So a radio tower is there. So draw the ray diagram. So a radio tower AC is there and the observer is at D, he is observing radio tower AC from D. Now the height of first part AB, it is given, it is 87 feet. The length, this length is already given, this is given, this is AB, it is 87 feet. And we have assumed this BC as H, let us assume it. Two such angles of elevations are 60 degree and 30 degree. Now let us find tan 30 degree in triangle ABD. What is tan 30? It is nothing but AB by AD, off by H. Students, you should recall these ratios. Now let us simplify. What is tan 30? As tan 30 is 1 by root 3. Let us substitute the value and AB by AD, let us, AB is 87 feet, substitute it, 1 by root 3 is equal to 87 by AD. So let us rearrange. So it is nothing but AB by tan 30. So let us substitute, it is 87 by 1 by root 3. So AD is 87 root 3 feet. So AD, that distance between the observer and the radio station is 87 root 3 feet. Now we have to find the second part, height of the second part. We have to find H. So tan 60, let us take tan 60 for bigger triangle ACD. So what is tan 60? it is off by h. Opposite side of 60 degree is AC. AD is the adjacent side. So let us cross multiply AD. So AC is AD tan 60. Now AC is equal to 87 into, let us substitute, AD is 87 root 3 and tan 60, what is the value of tan 60? Tan 60 is root 3. Now AC is equal to, let us root 3 into root 3, root 3 and this root 3 into root 3 is 3 itself. So 87 into 3 is 261 feet. So we have found total height, this AC, we have found AC, it is 261 feet. And AB, this AB is 87 feet. So we have to find BC. What is BC? So we have to subtract those. AC minus AB gives 174 feet. It is nothing but the height of second part of the radio tower. Therefore, the height of second part of radio tower is 174 feet. So is this the only way? Already in the previous example, we have generalized the same problem. If alpha is 30 degree and beta is 60 degree, x is 87, we can find height by using this formula, this generalized problem. So by using this relation also we can find, if you substitute alpha, beta and h or x, we will find the other required factor. If vertices of a regular hexagon having perimeter 60 centimeter or on the circumference of a circle, find the radius of the circle. So here, before actually solving the problem, let us understand what is a regular hexagon. Let us recall, a hexagon having each side equal and each interior angle equal is called a regular hexagon. So here, and they have given the perimeter. What do you mean by perimeter? Perimeter is nothing but sum of all the sides. Here it has 60 centimeters perimeter. It has 60 centimeters as the perimeter. Therefore, each side measures 10 centimeters because 60 by 6 is 10 centimeters. Now let us find AH. OH is the altitude here. AH is equal to half of AB because altitude in case of OAB triangle, it divides AB into two parts, equal parts, and it bisects here. Therefore, AH is half of 10, it is 5 centimeters. Now each interior angle of regular hexagon is, we have already thought of, it is nothing but 360 degree by 6. So what is 360 by 6? It is 60 degree and it is the regular hexagon. So since it is regular hexagon, the each angle, interior angle measures 60 degree. Now we have to find AOH, the measurement of AOH. What is AOH? AOH is nothing but half of 60 degree. What is half of 60 degree? It is 30 degree. So angle AOH, it is measuring 30 degree. And the angle whatever we have got here is, whatever the triangle we have got here is a right angle triangle. Now let us read out the diagram and let us take a right angle triangle OHE. So this is the right angle triangle. So let us find what is sine 30. Sine 30 is nothing but op by hyp. Which is op here? Here AB is the side and op of angle 30 degree is AH. This is AH. AH is op of AB, op of sine 30 degree, and OH is the hypotenuse. Therefore, what is AH? AH we have already found, it is 5 centimeters. And what is OA? It is nothing but the radius of the circle. Therefore, radius is nothing but 5 by sine 30. So let us simplify it. What is sine 30? Sine 30 is 1 by 2. So let us simplify it. 5 into 2 is 10 centimeters. So radius of this circle which has inscribed a regular hexagon is 10 centimeters. Now let us continue. So let us take one more problem here. The angles of elevation of the top of a tower as seen from 2 points A and B situated in the same line. So A and B are on the same line, and an observer is observing the top of a tower from 2 points A and B, and the distances are P and Q respectively, and the angles formed here are complementary. We have to prove the height of the tower as square root of PQ. So let us draw here. So height of tower is CD, it is H units. A and B be the 2 points of observations. So height of the tower is CD. A and B, they are the 2 points of observations. Now he is observing, the observer is observing D, he is observing D from A and B, he is observing it. Now it is given from A the distance to the tower is P, from B the distance to the tower is Q. So the angles and they have given the angles are complementary. What do you mean by complementary angles? If sum of two angles is 90 degree, we call those angles as complementary. So here the angle DAB and angle DBC, they are complementary. Therefore if this measures theta, then it should be 90 minus theta, since they are complementary. Now let us continue. Now tan theta, what is tan theta with respect to triangle ADC? Tan theta is nothing but CD by AC. So CD is H by P. So H is nothing but P tan theta. So call this as equation 1. Now let us find tan 90 minus theta. What is tan 90 minus theta? So we have to recall complementary angles. So tan of 90 minus theta is cot theta. So tan of 90 minus theta in triangle DBC is H by Q. We have assumed those values, it has been given. Now cot theta is nothing but H by Q. So let us cross multiply Q, thereby H is nothing but Q tan theta. Now let us multiply equation 1 with equation 2. So what is H into H on the left hand side? It is H square. H square is P tan theta into Q tan theta cot theta. So you know tan theta is the inverse ratio of cot theta. So we can cancel tan with cot, thereby we are left with PQ. So H square is PQ and therefore H should be square root of PQ. The height of any tower or any object will be always positive. Therefore let us take H as positive root of PQ. So let us take one more problem here. From the roof of a house H meters above the ground, the angles of elevation and depression of the top and foot of the mountain distant opposite to the house are alpha and beta respectively. Prove that the height of that mountain is H times 1 plus tan alpha cot beta. So let us assume AB as the height of the mountain. Let it be the height. Now let P be the point of view. From P, an observer is observing the top and bottom of the mountain. So the height of the point of view be H. So from he is above H meters. The distance between house and the mountain is PQ and the distance is given, it is PQ, and PQ should be equal to, here there is one more horizontal line, and we have recognized alpha beta as the angle of elevations and angle of depressions respectively. So tan beta, what is tan beta here? Tan beta is BQ by PQ with respect to triangle PQB. So it is nothing but H by PQ. So H is the height, it is already given. Now PQ is nothing but H tan beta, H by tan beta. Is it right? We have let us simplify. PQ is equal to, let us take inverse of tan beta, it is nothing but cot beta. So PQ is H cot beta, call it as equation 1. Now in triangle APQ, in this triangle, so in the above triangle, in triangle APQ, so what is tan alpha? Tan alpha is AQ by PQ. So AQ by what is PQ? PQ is nothing but H cot beta from the equation 1. Now AQ is equal to H tan alpha into cot beta. So let us cross multiply. So height of the mountain, we have to find it. It is nothing but AQ. So AQ is the mountain. So AQ is AQ plus BQ is the mountain. So AB is the mountain here. Therefore AQ is H tan alpha cot beta and BQ is nothing but H, it is given. Let us take H as common. H times tan alpha cot beta plus 1 is the height of the mountain. So until this, whatever we have discussed, let us review those things. So we have discussed basic trigonometric ratios and their values for specific angles. We have discussed about line of sight, horizontal line, angles of elevation and depression, and we have even solved certain generalized problems on finding the distance between top edge of a tower and point of observation, height and distances related to submarine or ship, basic trigonometric ratios, and even we have found height of tower and height of part of a tower. We have found radius of a circle when a polygon is inscribed, height of a tower if angles of elevation or depression or complementary. We have solved such problems. We have found height of distant mountain and distance to it from the viewer, and we have discussed all these things. So dear students, after understanding all these concepts, let you have these problems to work out. So a room is in the form of a cuboid. Its measurements are 7.2, 9.6 and 3.5 all in meters. Find the length of diagonal on any one face and longest stick that could be accommodated in that room. So try to solve it. So let us take a regular pentagon. It has the perimeter 50 centimeters. Vertices are on the circumference of the circle. Find the radius. Thank you, students.
Hello children, today we are going to discuss a very important topic in 10th standard science subject. I am Gurudutt and I will be discussing with you the topic which is very much essential for our planet as well as for the people who are living inside it. So the most important thing required for us to continue our lifestyle is energy. So in 10th standard, in chapter 14, today we are going to discuss sources of energy. So let us take an example. What happens if we drop a plate from a height? So if this is the plate, at this particular place, the plate will have potential energy. Energy possessed by a body due to its position. And when we drop it, what happens? The potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, and when it hits the ground, the kinetic energy is converted into sound energy. So let us take one more example. What happens when we light a candle? We have already discussed in chemical reaction lesson that the reaction in which heat is liberated, we call it as exothermic reaction. So when we light up a candle, the chemical energy of the candle will be converted into heat energy and then to light energy. So in the above two examples, whatever we have observed is that energy is converted from one form to another form. We already knew in our previous standards that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but only can be transferred from one form to another form, and this is known as law of conservation of energy. So, think on this. So, this is a very important thought which we have to discuss. Now, there is a candle. We have already observed what exactly happened in the candle and how energy transformation took place. So, can we somehow use our technologies, and is it possible for us to combine that heat energy and light energy? Is it possible for us to get back the chemical energy? No, it is not possible. What exactly is happening then? What is happening is the energy which is in usable form is converted into energy into non-usable form, and this is the main reason for energy crisis. So, we have to discuss in detail regarding energy and its sources. We already knew that energy is nothing but capacity to do work. So, why do we need energy? We need energy, especially heat energy, to cook food. We need electrical energy to lighten the room, and electrical energy has become a basic need of life. We are dependent more on electrical energy because whatever the device is most available to us uses mostly electrical energy to do the work. So, most convenient form of energy for us to our lifestyle is electrical energy. And we know that to do work we need muscular energy. So, to do our life activities, to carry bag, to run bicycle, to do exercise, whatever you take, we need muscular energy. And we also need sound energy to listen to music. It is just an example given. We are entertained by music and it also gives refreshment. So, sources of energy is anything which supplies us useful energy for carrying out the various activities. So, in this lesson we are going to discuss on sources of energy. What are the characteristics of the good source of energy? So, the first important thing that comes to our mind while selecting a good source of energy is it could give a large amount of work, or it should do a large amount of work per unit volume or unit mass. Second, it would be easily accessible. Third, it would be easy to store and transport. And finally, it should be economical. These are the four important characteristics of good source of energy. This question might come in your examination. They might ask you what are the characteristics of good source of energy. Then you have to list out these 4 points. Then what are the characteristics of a good fuel then? So, the diagram which is in front of you clearly explains to you what are the good qualities of a good fuel. It should be readily available, low cost, easy to store and transport as we discussed with the source of energy. It should give high calorific value, and it should not pollute. This is a very important thing that we need to look into. And it also low content of non-combustible matter is also should be considered as one of the important factor. So, how these sources of energy is broadly classified? We classify the sources of energy into conventional sources of energy and non-conventional sources of energy. So, the question comes to our mind, what are conventional sources of energy? Sources of energy which has been in use from centuries are called conventional sources of energy. These conventional sources of energy is broadly classified into 2 groups, commercial and non-commercial. Commercial is coal, petroleum and electricity. Non-commercial is firewood, straw and dry dung. Then what are non-conventional sources of energy? Sources of energy which we have started using in recent times. We call them as non-conventional source of energy. And examples are bioenergy, solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy and energy from urban waste. This is also considered as non-conventional source of energy. So, why is there an energy crisis in this era? What is the main reason bit? So, to know about it, we have to go to our ancient history where how we started using the source of energies. Let us take a small look at it. In ancient times, wood was the common source of energy. We were using wood as the source of energy. Then later we came to know about coal. We started using coal and we started exploiting coal. And because of this, what happened? Industrial revolution took place. Industrial revolution is an important change in human history. What does industrial revolution made? This led to better quality of life all over the world. This increased the demand of energy. Since the quality of the life increased, the demand of energy is also increased. This demand was fully filled by fossil fuels. Technology was developed to use these energy sources. Whatever the fossil fuels available, a technology was implemented or the devices were found, those devices which works on fossil fuels. And then what happened? People started using more and more fossil fuels. Because of this, energy crisis began. And this is the main reason for energy crisis. So, when you are discussing about fossil fuels, think about how these fossil fuels are formed. Fossil fuels are the remains of prehistoric animal and plants buried under the earth millions of years ago. They are non-renewable sources of energy. Since fossil fuels from plants and animals and they get energy from the sun, as we already know, we see plants and animals directly or indirectly depends on the energy of the sun. So, the ultimate source of energy is sun only. So, what are the examples of fossil fuel? The examples of fossil fuels are coal, petroleum products. You can also see in the picture coal, oil and natural gases are the examples of fossil fuel. Now, is there any disadvantages of fossil fuel? Is there any advantages of fossil fuel? So, in this particular slide, we are going to compare and contrast the advantages and disadvantages of fossil fuels. Now, first let us look at advantages. What are the advantages of fossil fuels? Very large amount of energy can be generated cheaply. Then it is very easy to transport. Engine using fossil fuels are very efficient. This means only very small amount of energy is lost. Fossil fuels are easily obtainable and can store almost anywhere. These are the advantages of fossil fuels. Then what are the disadvantages of fossil fuel? Fossil fuels are non-renewable. Therefore, once it is used, they are going to end permanently. The major disadvantage of fossil fuels is that they cause pollution. Fossil fuels need to be extracted from the mines. So, since they are extracted from the mines, they might be a landslide and destroying the large areas. So, these are the disadvantages. The question might come, what are the advantages and disadvantages of fossil fuel? So, these are the points which are very much helpful to us. Now, let us discuss about thermal energy. Before explaining or discussing about thermal energy, let us see this activity which is present in your textbook. This gives us a clear idea how thermal energy is converted into electrical energy. We have a pressure cooker. We have taken a tennis ball, we made it into 3 pieces, connected to a metal plate. There is a dynamo which converts, as we have discussed in electromagnetic induction, the dynamo is a device which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. So, what happened? The pressure, the steam from the pressure cooker is made to pass through the tennis ball, and what happened? The turbine rotates and the dynamo is there which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. This is the principle behind thermal energy. So, actually steam produced impart energy to the rotor of the turbine which can move shaft of the generator to produce electricity. This is what we have discussed. So, this is in a very small amount. In a large amount of what happens, the fossil fuels are burnt, especially we will take coal. So, these fossil fuels are burnt in thermal power plants to heat up the water to produce steam. So, how does it work? Let us see this. You can clearly see this in video. Coal is burnt, it is made to pass through the water, steam is liberated, that steam is rotating the turbine, and turbine that generator converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy. And you can see in this how energy is transferred from one form to another form. So, thermal power plants especially use coal and petroleum and natural gas to produce thermal electricity. Electricity transmission is very efficient. The steam produced by the burning fossil fuels runs the turbine to produce electricity. So, these are the steps. Now, again we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of thermal energy. First, let us look at the advantages. Very large amount of electricity is generated at a place cheaply. Transporting coal, oil and gas to the power station is very easy. Power stations run by petroleum gas are very efficient. These are built almost anywhere. So, this is an advantages of thermal energy. So, what are the disadvantages? The major drawback of these plants is the pollution caused by the burning of fossil fuels. This is a very important thing that need to be understood or need to be applied. Coal based power stations need huge amount of fuel to fulfill the demand. This keeps a large area near the power stations occupied with the piles of coal. So, this is one of the important aspect to be looked into as well, and as we know it is a non-renewable source of energy. So, these are the advantages and disadvantages of thermal energy. Now, we are looking at a hydroelectric power plant. So, this is the diagram we have extracted from the textbook, and this can be asked for 2 marks or 3 marks to draw the diagram. It is a very important thing, and sometime even question might be asked on this particular diagram, and what is the work of the generator, how energy is converted in hydropower plants, like that. So, you have to be ready for that. Now, what exactly happens in hydropower plants? In hydropower plants, kinetic energy of the flowing water or the potential energy of the water at a height is used to turn the turbine and to generate electricity. To produce hydroelectricity, high-rise dams are constructed on the river to obstruct the flow of water and thereby collect water in larger reservoirs. The water level rises in this process. The kinetic energy of the flowing water gets transformed into potential energy, and water from the high level in the dam is carried through the pipes to the turbine at the bottom of the dam. And when the water hits the turbine, turbine rotates and the generator converts mechanical energy into electrical energy and supplied to the where exactly it is required through wires. You can clearly see in this particular video, water is flowing in a tube, turning the turbine, and generator is converting the mechanical energy into electrical energy, and you can see the transmission lines where it is transferred to where exactly it is required. So, is there any disadvantages or are there any disadvantages of hydropower plants? Yes, there are disadvantages, and the first one we have to look into is large area of agricultural land and human habitation are to be sacrificed as they get submerged. We know that when you construct a multi-purpose dam, huge area will be we have to sacrifice as it is submerged inside the water. Large ecosystem are destroyed when submerged under the water in dams. This is also it creates an imbalance in the ecosystem. This is also one of the important factor. The vegetation which is submerged rots under the anaerobic condition and gives us to a large amount of methane, which is a greenhouse gas. This is also one of the very important reason, and you have to look into it, and these are certain disadvantages of hydroelectric power plants. And the major threat that we are looking in hydroelectric power plants is that it creates a problem, especially satisfactory rehabilitation of the displaced people who are there, those people, those places which were submerged in the dam, they have to be vacated and shifted, displaced to some other place, and sometime it might not be satisfactory, and this is one of the huge challenges faced while constructing a multi-purpose hydropower plants. Now let us look at certain criteria. We know that wood has been used as a fuel for a long time, and if we have to use wood for a long time, and we should ensure that enough trees are planted, very, very important. And we are familiar with the use of cow dung cakes as a fuel. Given the large livestock of population in India, this can also assure us as a steady source of fuel. Since these fuels are plants and animal products, the sources of these fuels are said to be known as biomass. So this question might come for 1 marks. What is biomass? So then you have to answer. Since the fuels are plants and animal products, the sources of these fuel is said to be biomass. So let us see a biogas plant. This is a diagram which is very, very important. Slurry of cattle and the cow dung is mixed in mixing tank, and there is a collection tank where we also call them as digestive tank. There is a outlet pipe, and there is also a outlet flow tank where slurry is collected. Let us see how it works one by one. First, cow dung, various plants material like the residues after harvesting the crops, vegetable waste, sewages are decomposed in the absence of oxygen to give biogas. This is the principle. Cow dung, various plants material like the residues after harvesting the crops, and vegetable waste and sewages are decomposed in the absence of air to get the biogas. This is the main principle behind it. Anaerobic microorganisms that do not require oxygen decomposes or break down complex compounds of the cow dung slurry. Since the starting material is mainly cow dung, it is popularly known as gobar gas. In our country, it is known as gobar gas. Biogas contains 75% of methane, 23% of carbon dioxide and 2% of other gas. One question might come regarding the composition of the gases in biogas, or which is the chief or the major constituent of the biogas. That question can also come for 1 mark. You have to be ready for it. So that sentence is going to be very, very important. And this particular diagram clearly indicates how biogas is generated, and even in recent times we know that not only as a fuel, it can be converted as electrical energy as well. Now let us look at what are the advantages and disadvantages of the biogas plant. Advantages: the biogas produced from biomass is a clean fuel, that is, it does not cause any pollution. Secondly, the remains of biomass are very good and natural fertilizers. It is obtained free of cost as all the constituents required for it is readily available. It gives a safe method to dispose of waste. It solves wastage problem as well. Then what are the disadvantages? The process of biogas generation is very slow, which reduces its utility for daily uses. It takes some time, it is a time consuming one, therefore it is a slow process. For that reason, sometimes it is not available or you cannot use it daily basis. So that is the reason. The amount of biogas generated from the biomass produced in a locality is not enough to serve the fuel requirement of the whole locality. So it is used for household purposes. It cannot solve or it cannot attain the need of the whole locality. So that is one of the major disadvantages of biogas plant. Now wind energy and windmill. This is one more source of energy. We are using it in our country. So let us discuss how a wind blow and what are the causes for it. Unequal heating of the land mass and water bodies by solar radiation generates air movement and cause windows to blow. This kinetic energy of the wind can be used to do a lot of work. This energy is utilized to lift water from the well or to generate electricity in the windmill. Actually, the rotatory motion of the windmill is used to turn the rotor of the turbine, which then generate electricity through dynamo. That is the principle. The output of a single windmill is quite small, so a number of windmills are erected over a large area, and this is known as wind energy farm. Even this question might come, what are wind energy farms? So, the output of a single windmill is quite small, so a number of windmills are to be erected over a large area, and this is known as wind energy farm. In our state, we can see this in Chitradurga district, and in our country, we can see it in Kanyakumari. India ranked 5th in the world in harnessing wind energy from the production of electricity. It is estimated that nearly 45,000 megawatt of electric power can be generated. So, you can see in that video that 2.5 megawatt can cook 3,120 toasters. So, 45,000 megawatt, just imagine. So, is there any advantages and disadvantages of wind energy? Let us list out advantages first. Wind energy is eco-friendly and they are efficient source of renewable energy, no recurring expenses for production of electricity. Then what are the limitations? The limitations are wind energy farms needed large area of land. This is the major challenge that we are facing. It needs a huge land area. Difficulty in getting regular wind speed of 15 to 20 km per hour, and wherever the wind speed is 15 to 20 km per hour, there only we have to construct these wind energy farms. Initial cost of establishing wind energy farm is very high, and to maintain that also it requires a lot of money, and high level maintenance is required for the wind blades. So, let us discuss on solar energy. Solar energy is the energy of the sun. The earth receives a huge amount of energy from the sun. Traditionally, we have been using solar energy only for drying cloths or grains. Sometimes even we are using for making salt from seawater. Outer edge of the earth receives solar energy equal to 1.4 kilojoules per second per meter square, which is known as solar constant. This is also important, we should look into it. Solar constant is 1.4 kilojoules per second per meter square. So, what are solar energy devices? Solar cooker is a solar energy device which works on the principle of solar. Solar cooker converts solar energy into heat energy. Solar furnace, same thing, you can say it. Solar cells are the devices which can convert solar energy into electrical energy, which is the convenient form of energy. Solar water heater, again solar energy to heat energy to heat up the water. Now, let us discuss about solar cooker. The diagram is very important for your examination. Solar cooker diagrams will be asked, and it can also be taken as an important diagram to practice. Please practice this. This can be asked in your examination. So, what does it contain? It consists of a rectangular box which is made up of material such as a plastic or wood. You can see clearly in the diagram. Box is covered with a black sheet and its inner wall are painted black to increase heat absorption. Solar cookers are covered with a glass plate and have mirrors to focus the rays of the sun to achieve the higher temperature. Now, regarding solar cooker, some important thing need to be discussed. A black surface absorbs heat as compared to white or a reflecting surface under identical condition. In identical condition, if you use a black surface and a white surface, black surface absorbs more heat, That is why it is painted black. This question can also be asked in your examination. Why the inner walls of the solar cooker is painted in black? Solar cooker is having a box type structure and its internal surfaces are covered with black color because of this reason. Solar cookers are covered with a glass plate. What is the role of the glass plate? These glass plates traps heat to go out from box and shows greenhouse effect. We use plane mirror. What is the role of the plane mirror? A plane mirror is also used to focus the rays of the light. Now, what are solar cells? You can see solar cells are the devices which can convert solar energy into electrical energy. Solar cells can convert only 0.7% of the solar energy into electricity. Silicon used in creating solar cells. Silicon is a semiconductor, as we know. Bangalore is called Silicon Hub. Now, what are the advantages of solar cells? Requires a very little maintenance, have no moving parts, no focusing devices required, environment friendly, that is, do not cause pollution, can be set up in remote areas as well. These are the advantages of solar cells. Then what are the disadvantages? It requires high cost, efficiency is low, initial cost of installation is quite high. So, these are the disadvantages. Then how can we use solar cells? Used in calculators and watches, you might be using it. Used in artificial satellites and space probes, very important. This might be asked in your examination. It is used in radios and wireless transmission system. These are the uses of solar cells. Now, what are solar panels? Any solar cells combined in an arrangement is called solar cell panel. Solar cells are combined in series to make a solar panel. The solar cell in the solar panel are connected in such a way that the total potential difference and total capacity to provide electric current becomes large. You can see clearly how solar panels are used to convert it into electricity. Very important thing, in Tumkur district, Pavagada Taluk, India, our state Karnataka has developed a solar power plant which is the biggest in Asia. Please remember this as well. Now, how can we harness energy from the sea or ocean? Energy from sea is available in the following forms: energy of the sea waves, tidal energy, ocean thermal energy. So, let us discuss one by one. Energy of the sea waves. How can we harness energy from sea waves? You can see a plant, how waves are there, and even turbines, and we know why turbines are there. Turbines are there to rotate, and once it is rotated, dynamo or generator converts that mechanical energy into electrical energy. How waves are created? Waves are generated by the strong winds that blow across the sea. This you might have experienced on the seashore. The kinetic energy of the moving water rotates the turbine of the generator. That what we have explained. When the strong wind stops blowing, the generator stops producing electricity as well. When the wind passes on the water surface, it leads to the pressure difference between the upper and bottom wind, which results in the generation of waves. Now, how can we harness tidal energy? You can see how a tidal energy form looks like, how energy is converted. You can see clearly there is a dam in the narrow space and how tidal energy is converted, and in that narrow space how that it moves. Let us discuss how exactly it works. The tidal energy possessed by water during tides. Tides are caused due to gravitational force of attraction exerted by the moon on water of the ocean. This you have learnt in last year in gravitation lesson. This form of energy is harnessed by constructing a dam across a narrow opening of the sea. You can see in the clear second picture, there is a narrow opening at the sea where the dams are constructed. A turbine is fixed at the opening of the dam that converts tidal energy into electrical energy. Now let us discuss about ocean thermal energy. The diagram is there. How it works, we will discuss one by one. The water at the surface of the sea or ocean is heated up by the sun, while the water in deeper section is relatively cold. So that means to say, at the surface the water is heated up, and at the bottom the water will be relatively cold compared to the top surface. The warm surface of water is used to boil a volatile liquid called ammonia. Ammonia is used to boil it. The vapor of this liquid are then used to run the turbine of the generator. The cold water from the depth of the ocean is pumped up and condenses the vapor again to a liquid. You can see clearly in the diagram how ammonia heats up and that volatile liquid, and how it turns the turbine, and how cold water converts it into liquid, and again how it goes up. That cycle you can clearly see it in the picture. Now geothermal energy. You can see in the picture how geothermal energy works. Let us discuss one by one. Geo means earth, we have already discussed it, and thermal means what? Heat. So geothermal energy is the energy which is obtained from the heat inside the earth. Sometimes molten rocks are formed in deeper hot regions of the earth crust and are pushed upwards and trapped in certain region called hotspots. What are hotspots can be asked. When underground comes in contact, steam is generated, and that steam can be used to power the turbine. Now let us discuss about nuclear energy. You can see clearly in the diagram how a nuclear reactor works. Nuclear reactor is a device which converts nuclear energy into electrical energy. Here also same principle. The cold water is heated up by the nuclear energy. That water heats up and steam is liberated. That in turn rotates the turbine, and then electrical energy is generated. Let us discuss. Nuclear energy is generated through the process of nuclear fission. There are two types of nuclear reactions: nuclear fusion, nuclear fission. In nuclear fission, a heavy nucleus is bombarded with a low energy neutron. In this process, it splits into two lighter nuclei with a tremendous release of energy, which can be utilized to boil water to turn turbines. Nuclear energy is generated in a controlled manner in the nuclear reactor. And in that diagram, on that video, you can clearly understand how nuclear energy is converted into electrical energy. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Advantages: very large amount of energy is obtained in economical way, major advantage. Secondly, the byproduct after fission may be further utilized and can be used as well, but it has got its own disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? The radioactive materials required for fission releases harmful radiations like gamma rays, which cause cancers, leukemia and other genetic disorders. This is one of the major defect. In case of an accident, it will explode like a very big nuclear bomb, destroying the lives all around it. Radioactive material are non-biodegradable. This means waste product will continue to emit harmful radiations for a long time, which will affect the living being. That's why nuclear power plants should be kept under close observation for all possible leakages. These are the challenges and the limitations of harnessing nuclear energy. Now, there are certain value based questions that can be discussed. Let us discuss this. Rina's father works with a company that builds dam. Once he took her to the site where the dam was being built. Rina saw a group of people sitting there and shouting slogan against the building of dams. She talked to the group of people and asked them about the problem, and then discussed it with her father. She then tried to convince the people to talk with the authorities and to come amicable solution. The discussion was successful. Reena's father was very proud of her daughter. Now answer the following question. Even these type of question can be expected in your examination. They are value based questions, but it has got its own application. Now try to answer these questions. Why was Reena's father proud of his daughter? Because the value shown by her was very environmental friendly and to solve the problem of the nation. Why was the group of people protesting against the building of dam? And in this particular thing, you have to look at the disadvantages of the multipurpose dams and hydroelectric power plants. Reena's contribution to the peaceful resolution of the conflict proved to be boon for many citizens of the country. How? Because when the dam is constructed and power is generated, it gives power to the plenty of villages and cities where it is really required. So these type of question can also come. Let us try one more. Nikhil and Neha went to a remote village in Kerala to meet their grandmother during holidays. They were surprised to see a biogas plant in Mr. Nayar's house in the neighborhood. There were plenty of livestock and the household used cooking gas from the plant. Also their farms was rich in vegetation. They contacted the Sarpanch of the village and convinced him to set up a biogas plant for the village community. And now they are asking the question, mention the value displayed by Mr. Nayar, Nikhil and Neha. It's a value based question, you have to think on it. Explain possible arguments given by Nikhil and Neha to the Sarpanch to convince him to set up a community biogas plant. This we have discussed. This is a question, you can think on it. These type of questions can also be expected in your examination. Till now, in detail we try to revise the lesson source of energy. I hope you people have enjoyed. In your coming examination, study well, do well, all the best for your career. Thank you.